guys, we are here at video 5. Yay! And in this one, I get to talk about one of my favorite topics, doulas. Not everybody chooses a doula, and you know what? A doula is not right for everyone, and that's perfectly fine. I like to make the joke that my goal is to get me out of a job, because my goal is to make sure that everyone is fully supported by everyone in their lives. And the more information I pour out into the world, hopefully the less need there will be for doulas. I mean, this is not something that I do because I want money and I want you to pay me to do this amazing thing. It's something that I believe in and believe is necessary. And maybe someday it won't be needed, but for now, I do believe it is needed for many, many, many people. And it definitely was for me. So what does a doula do exactly? A doula supports mothers and families, support them physically, emotionally, informationally, and by advocating for them. Now, you're all probably just like, okay, what does all that mean though? A doula can support a family physically through massages, counter pressure, which if you haven't heard of before, by the time you're in labor, you definitely will. It'll be your favorite thing. Hip squeezes and position changes, and helping advise families on when is a good time to walk, when is a good time to rest during labor. And this physical support can be helpful even before labor. Sometimes I'll be doing various techniques showing moms how to get in comfortable positions while they sleep and stuff during pregnancy. And the emotional support is generally being encouraging. It's not false positivity. I'm not going to tell you that, oh, you're being super calm when you're freaking out. I'm going to be honest, but that honesty is going to be completely just soaked in positivity. So I'm going to be pulling out of you the things that I see that you are doing well, and the emotions that I see that you're handling well and expressing well, all those things. And I believe that through encouraging the good, it's much more effective than just saying, you're kind of freaking out, you should calm down. That's not helpful. So yeah, like the emotional support. And I consider doulas to be emotional guardians over a mother. There's a lot of things that a woman goes through, and that a father goes through too, during labor and birth, and so many transitions are going on. And when those transitions are going on under the weight of negativity or anything like that, or criticism even, sometimes that can carry on past labor and birth and into parenthood. So I consider it one of the best parts of my job is being able to hold a space where you can really truly understand what's going on. I spent probably a year or more telling myself that I didn't labor very well with my first. I wasn't good at labor. I did everything wrong and all of these things. And it was burdensome to me. And I ended up in this kind of cycle of wanting to make up for it by being just the best mom ever and doing all of the best things for my daughter and all these things. And I was wearing myself out, and I was being, detrimental to my heart. And I wasn't being, positive to myself. I wasn't saying all the things that I did well, like having, a beautiful baby come out of my body. That's amazing. Like there's no doing that badly. She's here, she's alive, and she's amazing. So my body grew her. Emotional support is very important. Informational support is probably the closest second. A lot of times, people aren't aware of their options, and so being able to say, hey, here are your options, here's how you can make an informed decision with your care provider through communication, instead of just being like, oh, well, that's what he says I should do, that's what I'm gonna do, it's fine. So yeah, it's super important. And, even when it comes down to just the doctor saying some things in like medical jargon and you just being kind of like, I don't really understand what he's saying, then I can just be like, well, here's what he's saying, And I never give medical advice. It is very important that you never receive medical advice from someone except a medical professional. That's not what I do. So, and lastly, advocating for. And this is something that I don't have to do at every birth, but I have had to do, where I've had to say, this is not with her birth plan, and then just kind of ask the mom and the father, it's like, do you guys want to talk more about this? Because this is going against what you wanted in your birth plan. Are you okay with that? And just making sure that they are fully informed and not being bullied or pressured into anything. And this is like with non-medical emergency things. This is not with I'm not gonna say like, well, the doctor says the baby's heart rate is going really low and wants a C-section. Are we sure that's right? You know, it doesn't count with medical emergencies. This is with interventions and things like that. So yeah, advocating is very important. And one of the things that makes it even more important is that generally whenever, you know, scientific studies are done and they say, hey, you know, we've discovered that it's actually better for things to be done this certain way, it'll take about 15 years before that is common practice in the medical community. And that's a long time. And I really hope that as we move forward in this informational rich environment that we can make that much smaller. But for now, that is the case. So, you know, when your doctor says he wants to cut the cord right away, he's doing that because that's the way he was trained to do it. That's just, you know, what he thinks is best, or she. It's easy for me to be like, hey, you know, actually, evidence says that it's better to delay the cord clamping. That's what my client wanted to do anyway. Can we talk about doing that? I never want to get in anyone's face, and I don't want to argue with anybody. Now, evidence on doulas is pretty good. There has been a few studies done on the efficiency of doulas, that's the word. 25 to 39% decrease in the risk of C-sections. And that's pretty huge. 39% is like, that's pretty high. There's an 8 to 15% increase in likelihood of spontaneous vaginal birth, which is super awesome. The average length of labor is also 41 minutes shorter, which doesn't sound like much until you've been in labor for a long time, and you would take those 41 minutes, you'd take 5 minutes. There's a 38% decrease in baby's risk of low APGAR score. That's huge. Again, 38% is very high. And those are just a few. There's more down below, so definitely be sure to check that out. I also have a questionnaire below on what to ask a potential doula. Doulas are amazing, and I have personally never met a doula that I was just like, oh, she's completely incompetent. Like, we have to go through schooling to do what we do. Some more than others. Sometimes people don't want so much the advocating or the informational support. They just want someone to hold their hand and tell them they're doing a good job. And that is perfectly fine. Just make sure that you know what you want from your doula, and make sure that you ask questions when you're interviewing doulas to make sure you're getting a doula who is capable of fulfilling what you need. No matter what, never accept medical advice from your doula. We are not medical professionals. If she's telling you what to do, that should be a huge red flag for you. Be aware of those things in interviews, be aware of those things in prenatal visits, and be aware of those things during labor. You know, if she's not advocating you making informed decisions, that's a red flag. just don't do that. Just ask questions. Ask to see proof of certification. My proof of certification is right there. There shouldn't be anything to hide. Doulas are amazingly helpful. Just make sure that you ask the right questions. Make sure you're getting from your doula what you need as a family and as a person. So, yep, check out more below. And that's perfectly fine. Sometimes they blah, blah, blah.